Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Queen is Dead. I am Sanjeet. I have Dhruv with me, and we have Simon back with us after the Q&A episode. And today we are discussing about topic that we've been wanting to do for a long time. It is World Cinema 101. So yeah, Dhruv, go ahead.
nice transition. At least बीच
I
में
know.
interject तो करने देता.
It isn't jockey at all. No? It's so smooth.
Okay, no, it's more to do. So world cinema in general, I think what we wanted to do first was just define what we think is world cinema, because there are like so many definitions of world cinema in general. And I think from whatever I defined, and we discussed this before defining, is basically everything or most things outside of the Hollywood system or the classical Hollywood system. But because we also have discussed Indian cinema and regional cinema in other episodes, we are excluding those from world cinema in that sense. So a lot of them will include like European cinema, Latin America, everything like apart from the big industries that one expects it from. So Simon, go ahead. What is there anything you want to add to this definition, or what do you think you consider as sort of world cinema?
World cinema for me, I suppose anything that's foreign to us, means anything that's new to us, a film is showing a culture that's completely new for us, and a new different language. So I consider that type of films as world cinema.
Got it.
I won't consider a film like a film from Hollywood to be world cinema, because I know that culture very well. I was born in, somehow I grew up watching Charlie Chaplin films, so I know what an English culture is in USA. So now if someone will show me a film like Bicycle Thief, I can get an idea of how the world really is, like Italy or in France. So for me, and again, that anything outside USA is world cinema.
Got it. Yeah, fair enough. I think, I think that's how I generally also view it. Sanjeet, any deviations from the definition?
No, I agree with both of you.
Okay, concise.
Very concise.
Yeah. Anyways, but since you are that concise, I'm just going to ask you first then. What is how did you get into, like, what was your first sort of
stepping stone into world cinema? So I'll let Simon go first, because I think he should be the one to go first, and then I'll go.
Okay, fine.
For me, world cinema, the first time I watched it was around 2019. It was two German films, Nosferatu and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. These two films were my first stepping stones in foreign films in general, because I was totally surprised that a film can be made so brilliantly, and also being a silent film, it impacted me so much that I started exploring more German and Austrian films at first. Then after that, I went into more Italian films, French films, but it was first German cinema which introduced me to world cinema. This was the first stepping stone.
Got it.
Expressionism, absolutely. Then it
what
was Mikhail Haneke also.
Oh, nice. We will be discussing him later in detail.
Okay.
Sanjeet, go ahead. You can't be avoiding anything anymore.
No, I'm not avoiding. I thought Simon should be the one who should go first.
Okay,
but
fair.
The reason I got into world cinema is Sanjay Gupta.
Well, there is at least one use of his film.
Sanjay Gupta. So I watched Zinda, the 2006-7 movie. But then the thing is, around 2011-12, I actually actively started seeking out like different movies that I could. And the ones that were easily readily available to me at that point, I'm talking like 10 years back from now, or 9 years back, was Park Chan-wook's Old Boy, which was like the easiest available movie anywhere and everywhere. Even at those places you shouldn't like really talk about. But
what are these places?
I mean, torrent, Did I sound so okay? Anyway,
you sounded seedy and shady.
Okay. Anyway,
I mean, you sounded like you were talking about Bong cinema. if people who listen to the first episode will get the Bong reference.
Bong reference, yeah.
As not just being Bengal.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Park Chan-wook's Old Boy was the stepping stone. And the second film was the reason I got into the second world cinema film I watched was Ek Villain, Mohit Suri's Ek Villain.
You've been like Mohit Suri and Sanjay Gupta are your introducers to world cinema.
Mostly Korean cinema, yeah. But then I actually
honestly, you should put that though. They'll be honored.
Credit to them. Yeah.
Credit to them for copying these films.
But then I watched the Spanish movie called The Skin I Live In. That was amongst my first few films that I watched. And yeah, I mean, these were my first few films. And like Skin I Live In was like a proper, more than both these films, I was more disturbed by Skin I Live In when I watched. And that was really my entrance into more of seeking out more films from other parts of the world.
So you guys, can I ask a question here? Like, so you guys watched these films first and then read about them, right? Versus like opposite? Or is it like...
No, I watched the old Korean films first, but then I read about them. But I read about Skin I Live In first, and then I watched the film. Because I was actively I had access to internet at that point, proper good access to internet.
Yeah.
So I was actually seeking out like good movies that I can watch, and Skin I Live In was amongst the first few, because I think Skin I Live In, when I watched, had come out very recently at that time.
I think it released in 2012 or 11.
2011, 12, and I watched it in 2014. So it was fairly newer at that point. So what about you, Sam?
I first came across these two films from a Rotten Tomatoes list, I guess, where these two films are rated 100% fresh.
Yeah.
So being a teenager, I was like, Rotten Tomatoes is the best thing. Nothing surpasses Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So if it has 100%, that means the film is good.
Yeah.
So that's why I watched those two films, and after that I started reading more. Then watch Metropolis, then Austrian films.
Does that approach
that was mine.
I'll get to like my whatever thing, but I just wanted to. I'm very curious. Like, does it help to like enter world cinema without having read, or like do you think it's better to read about it first and then enter? Because like, a lot of people struggle with going into the whole subtitle thing, right? That's a very common sort of complaint you'll hear for general audiences. I'm saying versus like cinephiles who like become used to it after a while. But like, if you read about like said movement first and then enter, is that a better thing? Is my sort of question. Or you listen to this podcast.
Curiosity matters here. Means if you are curious enough, you can go in any direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think subtitles don't really matter after a point. Like, if you really want to watch, like how Simon said, if you're curious enough to watch, like my dad, for example, like if I've actually pushed him to watch like City of God and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once he like starts watching, it's a little difficult for him in the beginning, but then when he starts watching, he's actively into it. Even like a few Malayalam films I recommended him to watch. So it's a little difficult for him to understand because it's, it's not native language, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
But once he's into it, then he's like probably enjoying. But he won't actively seek it out unless it's recommended it to him. Or if he's like he wants to actively watch it. But
this is where we come in.
Yeah, this is
at least we need one film to push us to research more about that country or a film movement. We need at least one film.
I would say that I don't know. I'm sure there's alternative opinions on Parasite not being any good because it's like so popular now. But I would say Parasite has had that impact though, like just pushing people to like
in the last 2 years.
Parasite. I totally believe on this side.
Yeah. So like it or not, it's like whatever the cultural impact or like the thing it has. I mean, people who I don't watch like outside cinema have watched it and really loved it. So I think I remember one of my friends I have been convincing for ages to watch South Korean cinema, and he only watched it because Parasite had got nominated for Oscars, and I was like, okay, so that's how you get to like watching it.
That's
The
what it
whole
takes.
movie. That's what it takes. Yeah. But yeah, like
even I ventured into South Korean films through Parasite.
exactly. So I think
I knew
this is
only Hong Sang-soo's name.
yeah.
Otherwise, I
I
didn't.
mean,
I had ideas about
I
other
think Simon,
directors.
you are one of the few people who will know Hong Sang-soo
Aung San Suu
before Bong Joon-ho. I
or
think because Bong Joon-ho is also made English films. That's why I'm saying.
yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise,
What was that
because
movie though? I forgot the name. The creature.
Snowpiercer and Okja.
Ogja and
Okja.
Snowpiercer. Yeah.
Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
no,
so
but I
no.
feel learning about film movements also help you get a little bit of context before going in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can have like a certain set of expectations from a film or certain films, and then you get like it's more understandable when you get into a different culture of films.
Yeah.
Maybe a little reading helps, but like
Hmm.
it's up to you. If you want to know more in detail, then it's up to you.
Yeah.
But a little bit of context is maybe good, I feel.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned this before also. Like you sometimes lack the context sometimes to like actually judge a
Okay.
film, right? With Kwaidan, I think you told me that.
Quite done, yeah. So
With
the Japanese film,
Kobayashi's.
quite done, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
This
I was unaware about the Japanese context of things or how Japanese cinema was back in the day because I hadn't seen a lot. So maybe a little bit of reading and knowing about their culture helps you in viewing certain films, because otherwise you'll be like, oh, this is too theatrical for me. But at that time it was the norm. That's how they did things,
yes.
maybe.
So I encountered one person on online. He was like, Japanese films are so overblown. They are just people are just shouting. I'm like, if you read the context behind it, the films were like that. The people in Japan are a bit eccentric to some extent. So the films were like that. They are not shouting. They are just speaking normally.
Yeah.
It's for them. It's normal.
Yeah.
You should have a context.
Yeah, I think it's much more helpful
then
also
watch
than
such film.
it's also much more helpful to do criticism. Like if people are going to do criticism, like to know about the context, it is very important then, because like I think
most definitely
because like if you're just talking about or just comparing everything to like, oh, this isn't like the plot points aren't clear because you expect them to be clear in like a Hollywood film, right? So like if those are like the criticisms that come through, then it feels very artificial and like under sort of someone who's just doing it for doing its sake, sort of like that. But I'll segment into my journey into them very briefly. It's just I think it's a combination of both of yours only, to be honest, in many senses. I think my first memory of watching a foreign film is Denis Villeneuve's Encendies, actually. That's my memory of watching the first film, and which I was like, oh, I really loved it back then. Never have revisited it. Probably should. But it wasn't like so my honestly the big thing for me is I took a course in undergrad, and I was doing a minor in cinema studies, and I took a course in international cinema, and that kind of just very slowly it planted the sort of world cinema seed. Like as Simon said, like I watched Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and I didn't get it. Like I didn't get the craze over it, and we've talked about
you have an aversion towards silent films.
I have some aversion to silent films. I know it's like a very anti-cinema purist thing to say, but like I struggle to completely get immersed in some of them, and I think the thing I'll start doing next time is literally turning the sound off and not having like that orchestral score playing. I think that distracts me a lot. No, but German expressionism probably in general I have a bit of a disconnect with, minus like Nosferatu I really like. Sorry, you're in Germany. They'll like arrange something, right? No, but I think the one of the first silent films I really liked was The Phantom Carriage. This is by Victor Solstrom, some Swedish. He's a Swedish director who acted in a lot of Ingmar Bergman films later. Not a lot, but he was in Wild Strawberries, which is one of Bergman's well-known films. So that film was very like drama oriented. Like it was much more sort of it kind of had elements of Hollywood cinema also. So maybe it was a good stepping stone for me into sort of different cultural movements. But I think, and I'll go and discuss this further later when we are discussing recommendations. But I think I saw a Bergman film and then I was like, okay,
Life has no meaning.
Life has no meaning. Yeah, and then people talk about that. That's the bigger thing. So I think that element sort of clicked with me because I think I was more used to sort of Bollywood cinema also, right? And Bollywood cinema is very, even though it kind of talks about internal stuff, but it does it very externally through like expression and everything. And they were like Bergman cinema is like completely sort of drenched in like internal stuff, right? So maybe that clicked with me, and then after that I've just loved exploring other stuff, like, you know, it's just. And this is where I kind of wanted to ask another question, if you guys like I know I like one part of the attraction I have with world cinema is that you experience different cultures and all, right?
That's the number one takeaway, I think.
But I also think sometimes I do it just because I want to get away from whatever my sort of, you know, I think Indian films or like Indian cultures or like Hollywood films also sometimes are so like connected. See, this is where my Bergman thing only is coming. Like I always think world cinema sometimes makes me sort of go into another zone, which I think these films kind of don't, because they're so connected with people around me and everything. So do you guys like,
I mean, because it's a very alien thing for you, maybe it's you know, fascinating in a sense that you get to experience different things, different world altogether.
Yeah, so that's like I actively seek it out sometimes. Like I'm just like I don't want to watch Suryavanshi just because I don't want to discuss it with a lot of people around me. Like I would rather watch something else, which is like completely, I guess never mind. You get into my existentialism. It's to do with that only. Like world cinema to me is a lot of like going away versus like
your answer had so much depth. I was talking about Sanjay Gupta, man. What the hell? sorry, go ahead,
I mean, his films also have depth, right? Like green color and all that.
Yeah. Too much camera depth. But Simon, go ahead. You were saying something.
Yeah. What were you saying, Simon? Yeah.
No. I was saying about that going away from means the Bollywood is so much ingrained in our conscious, in a mental state that we can't forget it easily. We have to try and seek out different cultures. I go totally in different directions in countries that like small countries I go and find the films and watch just to experience something new, and some films do get very impactful. There are films from countries.
I also think that kind, like if you explore that much, it helps you appreciate, at least to me, it has appreciate Indian cinema more also in its own sort of, because it then becomes like a style itself, right? Because otherwise we just see it as like everything, but like it just becomes another movement or another style. So I think all that world cinema like helps one accomplish. So yeah.
But before we move on, I wanted to ask Simon, like he like the thing, like I know that he has actively seeked out like more indie stuff from countries that even I haven't heard about and stuff like that. So what was so why, what was basically the reason you thought that this could be a very good, I mean, not really an activity, but something that you would enjoy? Like,
I really don't know why I started seeking these type of rare countries in terms of films. I guess it was because of Andrei Zulavsky films, because his films are super rare to find. When I wasn't really aware of how to find films on internet. So then I started and then I started scrolling Oscar submission list. Then I saw these many films countries make films, like films like countries like Malta, and I'm like, why not I watch these films also? It would be very interesting to watch at least one film from every country. So like that, I started watching films, and gradually, countries like Georgia and Armenia are some of my favorite nations in terms of film. That was my just a small fascination I had. What it would be to watch some rare films. Also for that superiority prospect. That was also there. Yeah, I watched this very rare film.
I think it's like a collector's item, no? Like if like no one else has watched it and we watched it, sort of like that. If the other two people who've like logged the film on Letterboxd, then it's like some badge we'll get. I mean, we don't, but like,
I mean, you can look at it this way, right? You can be the first person to recommend this film to a bunch of people. It becomes that way. So I mean,
you become a trendsetter in a way.
So that's the secret goal, just to become a trendsetter.
I mean, it works. If it actually inspires people to go and actually watch those films, which I am going to after Daisies. You spoke about Daisies. So
that gives me the most satisfaction when people seek out my recommendation and watch them. And if they like, that's a bonus point. If you are watching and hating it, that's also okay. But at least
it's hard to get people to watch stuff when you recommend it. It's very hard.
Obviously.
Especially people who aren't really seeking out like a lot of cinema and watching like just the normal stuff. For them, if they actually end up watching something from world cinema, it is actually like an achievement in a way.
It is, definitely. I mean, I think sorry, go ahead, Simon.
I have a friend who was like super into Punjabi mainstream films. I once showed him Midsummer by Ari Aster. He got so much invested in foreign films. He watched Dogtooth. Then now he's doing some Nordic series, I think.
Wow.
Meaning he has gone totally in a different direction.
Wow. I mean, I guess again, like Sanjay Gupta, Midsommar has some use. Sorry.
Sorry. Wow.
I'm kidding. I'm just being snarky. I don't like that movie, but like I get why.
What do you
like Midsommar?
I love
really?
Midsommar.
Yeah.
I love Midsommar. I even watched the extended cut also.
Which is, I guess, better than the original. I've heard. I don't know.
I only watched the extended cut. It's too long.
I watched both the cuts and I was total. The original cut I watched in some stand-up Hindi version, which was bad. It was so bad, out of sync. Then I seeked out the extended cut, which was relatively good.
Nice.
Okay, let's not barge on. Let me not reveal another movie I don't like then.
Please don't.
There's been too many this year, right?
Too many. But but let's talk about a little bit about film movements, because I think they have been in a way kind of catalysts for world cinema to reach out to more people, because they aren't just like obviously they were like the number one things for which filmmakers of a certain country have gone ahead and made films that have become like game changers, quote unquote, trendsetters and everything. But they've also reached out to a lot more people because of their movements. So Simon, go ahead, tell us a little bit about some of the film movements.
If the film movement is concerned, then
let's go a little bit from mainstream and then towards little obscure ones. So what are the most mainstream?
Most mainstream must be Neorealism.
Italian Neorealism,
obviously, because Bicycle Thieves, I've been hearing about the film since I've from my early childhood days, like Bicycle Thieves. It was the inspiration for Satyajit Ray and everything else. So, Neorealism perhaps the best way to start with world cinema.
But do you think it's had, like, I think to some degree Neorealism has kind of had a bit of a negative impact also in today's industry. Just the desire for that much realism, I think, is a little in like film.
Yes, it can get overbearing sometimes, like too much realism. It
was based on because guy became was influential, right? Andre Bazin, who wrote about sort of realism and everything, and like total realism and like whatever you do with all that stuff. So
what is total realism?
Total realism is like the closest you can get to just recording events that happen naturally. Like
okay.
Without any
I don't think
concept
he said that it's possible, but I think the idea of it kind of sticks a lot with people nowadays when they watch something and they're like, oh, ye to hoega hi nahi, ya fir this won't ever happen in real life. Kind of like that realisticness, right, of that stuff. I think sometimes that I think has like kind of limited the number of movies people are willing to accept nowadays. Like if something's super stylistic, you'll always hear style over substance, kind of like that. So like that element, I mean, more than anything else.
But I think most movements like Italian Neorealism were out of necessity. They weren't
all of them are.
Yeah.
This was during the war, right? Post-war, post-World War II.
Right after war,
So
like that Rome Open City, the film, Rossellini film. It was absolutely gut-wrenching to watch.
So if someone wants to get into Italian Neorealism, tell us about like a few films, like a couple of films that they can start with, like just like one or two films.
The War Trilogy
Bicycle Thieves
by Rossellini.
Which one? Please, can you
Rome Open City, City, Germany Year Zero, and Paisan. These three films. Gateway through Neorealism. And if you have to get out from that movement, watch Pasolini film.
Very true.
He completely disrupted the theory.
What did he do?
Everyone was like, you are a neorealist filmmaker. He said, no, I am not. And then the movement slowly ended after Pasolini entered the industry. Fellini also went in other directions.
He also went. He left Neorealism too.
I love like I've seen 8.5 only, but absolutely love that.
He goes from Neorealism to Surrealism almost.
Surrealism, more or less.
Obviously. The best transition, I think, who directed Leopard? Ludovico.
Visconti or what?
Visconti, I think.
Visconti had the best transition from Neorealism to period drama. That was the best thing I like about the director.
Okay.
He didn't stick to only one particular film movement. He tried something new. I guess that was also good it was becoming very tedious, the Neorealism thing. Very monotonous. Like, okay, the war has ended now. Now do something new.
Everyone wanted to wallow in misery and like whatever thing was going on. No, like it was more to do with whatever.
Just take out their inner angst or something.
Showing whatever the world had come to and all that, and like what impact it had and everything. So I guess it made sense at that point.
Yes.
But you had talked about Pasolini, right, Sanjeet? I have only seen 2 films of his. Both are demented in terms of like distorting realism. But like he did, I watched Salo, which I don't like. I know people really like Salo. But
even being a fan of Pasolini, I don't like the film.
Salo is just, I find it tedious, honestly. I know people find it shocking. I just find it like, I don't think I need to like sit there and watch like people eating poo and like whatever. Like I'm just like,
God.
Yeah, I mean, that's
moving on.
No, it's the reality of whatever he was trying to show and how like absurd it could be. The other film I watched is the Decameron, which I think is really, really good. Like it's like he explored sexuality and like all that stuff very openly. And he
the rawest sense.
In the rawest sense, basically. I've always wanted to watch more Pasolini after watching the film Abel Ferreira made on Pasolini, which with Willem Dafoe.
Film.
It's a very weird film, but like it really got me into watching more Pasolini, wanting to watch more Pasolini. So that might be a good sort of entry point to like Pasolini.
Also, there's a fun fact that while Fellini was writing about La Dolce Vita in the script, he sent after finishing the script of the film, he sent the script to Pasolini because he thought that Pasolini had more idea about the street than him. So Pasolini changed, I think, 70% of the film.
Wow.
He changed mostly. So Fellini was like, it won't happen, obviously. So he made La Dolce Vita with, I think, 30 to 40% contribution from Pasolini.
Wow.
Then
Oh, that's a lot anyway.
a year later, Pasolini made a film called Arcatone, which was basically poor man's La Dolce Vita.
Okay.
Whatever he thought, he just completely means he went down very deep into Italian society, means pimps, prostitutes. He explored that very much.
Yeah, I think he was himself a gay man, right? So I think a lot of that.
His sexuality is very much debated.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the Willem Dafoe wala movie gives a very good like impression of what it was to be like Pasolini. Like it's full of like angst and like full of. It's got also a very very absurd sequence which probably would pay tribute to Pasolini. It's a alternative society which he paints, which has everything that is considered bad in today's society. Like everything is happening. Like there's like whatever, like a carnival sort of thing.
I was too immature. Means I wasn't mature enough to understand the Abel Ferreira film. I
mean, Abel Ferreira is a weird guy also. He makes weird films.
He made a film called Driller Killer, where there's a taxi driver kind Travis Bickle, who kills women with driller.
He shows a bunch of that, doesn't he? I think like it's pretty explicit. Bad Lieutenant is also very explicit, I've heard. Anyways, won't go to Abel Ferreira now. He's there for later when we discuss our movies of the year, right, Sanjeet? I have zeros and ones to discuss.
I have many films.
So next movement, what do you want to go to, Simon? What's the other big
French New Wave?
French New Wave, yeah.
French New Wave, obviously.
Godard.
François Truffaut, obviously the man himself, who labeled Satyajit's film like "I don't want to see."
Wait, François Truffaut didn't like Ray.
He disliked Pathet Panchali. Then after that, they exchanged letters. They did some when they was working on Alien, the film, the EP film. So then they used to exchange letters.
Oh, I didn't know this about Truffaut
and then Truffaut ended up acting in Close Encounters by Spielberg.
But Truffaut is supposed to be the more mainstream French New Wave, right? Or whatever, the more well-behaved sort of French New Wave guy. Because Godard was the radical sort of absolutely left field. Like
Godard was a madman. He can do anything.
Properly. Like I would think he pushes a little bit too much and it becomes almost like a troll sometimes. Like his films, some of them are like very trolly. Like, but there is no denying that French New Wave also has such a big impact still in films, like especially indie films.
Even La La Land also incorporates that French New Wave, Umbrellas or Chapeau.
I mean, why I said this, because I need to sneak in my Terence reference because he's supremely inspired by a lot of French New Wave style cutting. The rapid montage.
I didn't know that.
The hard cutting and the memory type. I mean, Godard didn't use it for memory. He just did it to break the flow and the rhythm and the reality of what people see, right? Because he always was more into getting the audience to know how much artificial cinema is. And I think that element also is in a lot of new filmmakers. Like I think a lot of people want to engage audiences like that. That self-reflexivity ka jo chakkar hai, jo like all the Tarantino and all these people are like very much from that school only in that sense.
Completely.
So that, I mean, I don't know though, like what film to talk about, to say, like to introduce to Godard. Like I really like Breathless, but I know that film alienates a lot of people.
I don't think so. I think Breathless is a very good stepping stone for people getting into the French films.
Do you think so?
I feel, yeah. Okay. What do you think, Sam?
I haven't watched that much. I haven't watched any Godard film.
Oh, lucky.
Like only 400 Flows is only French New Wave film. French New Wave film. I have only read much about it. And watched very little films from there. there was a director, I think he was left bank director, Alan Robbie Gillett.
Alan Robbie. Okay, I've not heard actually.
Yeah. Okay.
He wrote I think last year at Marion Bed. He wrote the film.
Oh, okay. That movie is another beast into itself, which yeah. I don't.
I've watched very limited amount of French New Wave stuff, but I think after Neorealism, one has to venture to.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's I mean, I would say that you have to be I think you have to stick with French New Wave though. I don't think it'll work for everyone. I mean, it doesn't work for me often also. Like I get totally alienated by films like last year at Marienbad and Godard Ka Weekend, which I kind of hate. Like there's very few films I genuinely hate, but like that film I think I hate with a fair amount of passion. But so like those things I think would stop. Can I just recommend one filmmaker who often, I don't know how she gets lost in this. Now I think she's gaining a lot more popularity. Agnes Varda.
Agnes Varda. Yeah.
She's I think someone who mixes, thoda emotionality with this self-reflexive technique also. So to me, her work is the most accessible almost. I have not seen enough Truffaut though. So I probably need to see more of that.
Shoot the Piano Player.
Yeah, I want to see that. I've yet to see that. So yeah, can I just recommend Agnes Varda? She's awesome.
In my work, I've been a photographer, a filmmaker, and I'm a visual artist. But what I'm trying is again erase the borders. In some installation, I mix still images and video, or color and black and white, or a still image and the same moving. You see, our perception has to be tickled all the time. We cannot decide this is good, this is bad, this is old photos, this is new. So I'm trying, since I'm old, I have been using all these tools, creating films, art, or whatever, and even Instagram or something on the net, is being free.
I think
Should we discuss about parallel cinema also? Like,
yeah.
We can discuss it. So after I think Neorealism, parallel cinema is the best thing because
Indian parallel, you mean?
Indian parallel cinema.
Yeah.
So like Pather Panchali, Aparajito, and Apur Sansar. These three films are the gateway to I think Indian cinema in general. Yeah. If you are not well versed, they could
actually be a great bridge from Italian Neorealism to parallel.
That's why.
Yeah. But Sanjeet has also seen a couple of films which Ray was inspired by Godard, right? You saw
Pratidwandi.
Yeah. That's Godard inspired, right?
Yeah, kind of. Because Godard used a lot of like handheld stuff, walking in streets and stuff like that. Yeah. Pratidwandi is kind of like that. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, because I am not as much... I don't know as much as you do about Ray, but Pratidwandi was his first foray into like proper metropolitan film, and his first film set in a city and everything like that, right?
Yes. When was Mahanagar released? I'm very bad at remembering.
63. And Pratidwandi was 71.
I think Mahanagar is the film where he ventured into metropolitan cities and stuff. Because she was a sales girl. She had to roam in every house.
Yeah.
So I think that one.
But was it as radical as in its approach?
No, it was radical.
Right?
I was about to say that I've seen Mahanagar. It seems very much like more inspired by Neorealism than sort of.
Because Pratidwandi is kind of radical. It is against system and a little bit. Yeah. So, from whatever I've read, it said, the articles that I've read, it said it was heavily inspired by Godard's style, and he made his own Godard kind of a film with Pratidwandi, which I absolutely love. Pratidwandi is one of my favorite films of all time.
Also, if you love Pratidwandi, then please watch Interview with Mrinal Sen.
Mrinal Sen,
another film. He just completely changes the way to watch that film. It completely turns meta. One of that twist is very well done. When he just turns the camera and like you are
getting the
It's a
audience
very
to
well
be
made
like
film.
complicit and all that, right? Like that.
Mm.
Okay. Got it.
Also very much avant-garde sound design,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
casting down of the metal sound. A
Yeah.
very well made film.
Got it.
Yeah.
Instant favorite that film.
Yeah.
Nothing. Also, Ritwik Ghatak's films were very radical in
Mhm.
the film. His
Ghatak
films
though
were radical
was
also.
known for his
Then
radical
if,
nature films and everything.
obviously. Then
Ritwik
if
Ghatak is
it,
the one who made, or is it Money Call, who made Uski Roti and
That is
Money
Money
Call
Call.
one.
Money
that's
Call.
Money
Call.
Call.
Uski Roti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Money Call was more experimental, I think. I haven't
Oh
watched all
yeah.
this.
He's Uski Roti and Duvidha both. Duvidha is also him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them are experimental to the extreme, I think. So those are two films I have seen.
Let me tell you, there's a film called Om Dar Badar. Has
Om
anyone
Darbadar.
watched that film?
You know,
Yeah.
you've
I
talked
have.
about this, right? Yeah.
Kamal Swaroop.
Yeah.
Come on, what a film! What a film! I just love the film.
You should
It's one of
definitely
the
check it
very
out.
few films. Very few films where means experimental cinema was employed in I think parallel cinema. Pure
Yeah.
experimental form of storytelling.
Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
a lot of parallel cinema was like we've talked about, like opposition to Hollywood. The other film movements. This was also very much in opposition to Bollywood, right? Parallel kind of means
Yes.
like that in many ways. But like,
Yeah.
so the sort of what Ray was making in general and all of that kind of stood against sort of the excess of Bollywood. So like I guess experimentation in that sense would automatically mean dialing down everything, and then these filmmakers of course experimented with narrative and all also, right? Money Call and all these people. So yeah. No, I think that's a movement. I think maybe Indian people who've watched a lot of Bollywood might be able to segue from that to international if they want to go that way. Yeah.
That would be a cultural shock. Like Indian films can be like this also. It's not always dance and weddings. It can be emotionally draining. It can be a bit of where you have to invest your mind into understanding the film. Everything is
I've told people this and they're like, life में इतनी problems है कौन देखेगा बैठ के, which is, I mean, it's a fair enough. I mean, I understand it almost, because it's like, okay, ठीक है, I get what you mean, but like, experiment करने में क्या जाता है types. But I'm just saying whatever has been told to me. I have no like ऐसे वो, but next film,
I get it.
yeah, next film movement.
But
you want to go
I think
back in time or just
let's go more obscure, because I think these are kind of more mainstream and people know more about it. But since we have Simon, let's get to know more about some obscure film movements.
Now it's time for my favorite film movement, Czech New Wave. I just adore this film movement. It was due to
Czech New Wave, right?
Yeah.
Czech New Wave.
Yeah.
I came across this very casually. I was scrolling down YouTube and some song was made, video edit was there. So I just checked out the name of the film. It was some weird language. I can't read it all properly. So instant curiosity, I just searched. And I was like, I have to watch this film because I'm interested in such films. Then it was Vera Kittiloka's Fruit of Paradise. Then slowly I got more into Czech New Wave. I started reading about them. Means after that, the final step, I think I took that 8-hour documentary which I watched. That was my final. I think after that, I have sufficient knowledge, I feel, about this movement.
Yeah,
it was basically.
That's what I was asking. Can you fill us in on like the basics of what it was?
The basic Czech New Wave film was based upon was make comedy films.
Okay.
Their only requirement was you have to make a comedy film. All other political commentary, you just symbolize that thing. Otherwise, make a comedy film.
Satirical.
If the officials caught you doing something against the government, then they will ban you for 2-3 years, or they will jail you. So Milos Forman and Ivan Pasen, they laid down 6 points, I think, to what is considered a Czech New Wave film.
Yeah.
It had to be comedy. This one, it was only followed basically.
Got it.
And that's the main thing. Also, films need not to be long in length. The length needs to be manageable. So most of the Czech films are very short in length. Daisies is, I think, 80 minutes film. Also, it's very debatable which film started this movement. Some say it's Sun in the Net, a film released in 1962 or 60. Also, a fun fact is Czech New Wave was also known as Czech Film Miracle.
Can you repeat the
Czechoslovak Film Miracle.
Oh. Okay.
Miracle in the sense that the government was paying money to the filmmakers who are making films against the government.
Against the government.
The government was funding its own downfall.
Yep.
Nice.
So this was the main theory behind it.
Maybe have you guys heard of the thing with Starship Troopers that Paul Verhoeven made?
Verhoeven movie.
Which is like supremely critical of the everything that the studio stood for, but no one understood actually that I was doing that. So maybe the Czechoslovaks were just like were smart in sort of disguising whatever they were doing under like you said, right? It was the social commentary was buried under symbols versus like brought up to the forefront. So
also Czech New Wave was very much inspired by Jean-Luc Godard. Not only French New Wave. Jean-Luc Godard gave birth to Czech New Wave. Everything that Jean-Luc Godard does is employed.
Okay. Got it.
The cuts, the camera work, everything.
Got it. Yeah.
Also very short-lived film movement because Russian invasion happened and everyone went away from making films.
Right, Milos Forman migrated to
Milos Forman migrated to USA. Then Vera had to drive taxis and all. It was very tough time, but the films they made, they were very important. Very important. Daisy is like the first feminist film she made in that time, which was very radical. It was very radical. Like it completely deconstructs the Czech society.
Okay.
Vera Kislova was the only female filmmaker who was studying in FAMU.
Okay, which is the Prague Film School.
Prague Film School. She was the only, and her batch consisted of Yuri Menzel, who directed Closely Watched Things. And then Milos Forman.
Yep.
And other directors, I'm forgetting the name. Ival Shorm was there. He was also the. Many more directors were there, but. Khitilova, Yuri Menzel, Milos Forman. These three were the main catalysts who brought the film movement in mainstream in this.
Yeah. Where to start and where to find. I know find mein ek jagah to I know where it is like Criterion, but like is there like
Criterion? Otherwise the website torrent obviously
on the okay, somewhere
illegal places, but Criterion best.
Criterion is best. They have video essays also.
Yes, Criterion sponsor after this.
Like 4 episodes they said.
You can like move ahead to another film movement that you think people should know more about.
Dogma 95. That was something bonkers which goes to Max Lars von Trier and Thomas Winterberg. The points they laid down, the 10 points are so. First, if you look at them, they were baseless. These points are.
First, tell us where Dogma 95 got originated from and what really was happening there, if you can.
Dogma. The main reason was they had nothing to do in a Sunday afternoon. They were just chilling, and they just wrote down 10 points, and they said, "Let's start a film movement." And they just stripped off any directorial rights for a filmmaker, basically.
But they were all based in. It was mostly concentrated in Denmark only, right? So Denmark, Danish film.
It started in Denmark, then it flourished into Latin American countries and USA. Yes, in Argentina also some films are made. Super rare to find.
Yeah.
So only I think The Celebration is a film which got really popular out of the Dogma. Uh, but
What all
like
did Lars von Trier make under the movement? Because after that he like pitched it.
he had to, because he had some other plans. The best films, I think, Lars von Trier made Idiots, a film. It's very offensive.
Yeah.
Idiots he made. Then I have to check.
Is Dogville and all that correct? Considered?
No,
Dogma?
Dogville is completely different.
Okay.
But Dogville uses a set and a
वो तो
period.
Brecht का हो गया ना, जो भी सब वो है, like stage का वो use करना and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Festin, the Winterberg movie was one of those.
Was a Dogma film. Also, the best thing about Dogma is that you get a certificate. You get a certificate if your film complies the 10 rules.
Quite funny, to be honest. Just how it's
also
very like college.
Also, it was signed by 4 directors.
Yeah.
It was signed by Suzanne Bier, Lars von Trier, and
she's
Thomas
also
Winterberg.
part of it. Okay, fine.
Yes. She made a film with Mads Mikkelsen in Dogma film movement. Open Hearts, I think.
Okay. I don't think I've seen any Dogma film now. Like, especially from the ones you're telling me.
Some Dogma films aren't even listed also.
What was the films that
it completely takes away any right that a director has while directing a film.
Yeah, it's like there's what movies do, because I know most about von Trier out of all these. So like, but I've only seen Winterberg. I've seen 2 movies. I don't like either of them that much, so I'm not gonna say much. I watched a clip from The Celebration. It looked great. Looked as in like it seemed great. Looked terrible because that was the whole point of Dogma, right? It looks horrible, basically. No, I'm curious to know. So I'll probably watch Idiots then, even though I've heard it's like really offensive.
Watch Festin, I think, The Celebration, which is by Winterberg.
That one I'll watch.
Festin is a great start for Dogma film.
Okay.
Then we have the Suzanne Bier film, Open Hearts. That's also a good film.
Yeah.
A respectable film in Dogma. Otherwise, it's very notorious. Because you can't watch a 240 pixel film in a big screen. It's basically that. Then Harmony Korine has a film, Julian Donkey Boy.
Oh, of course he does.
Oh, yeah. We spoke about it in the Q&A as well, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it was a very short-lived movement, and it wasn't like a
obviously short-lived movement and very creative in a sense.
Yeah.
How can you restrict a director and still make a film?
There's that documentary, right? We also discussed a little bit 5 Obstructions.
5 Obstructions, Jürgen Leth.
Von Trier and
Jürgen was always interested in obstructions. Like he has to restrict himself.
Yeah.
Clearly didn't in Antichrist.
But is Dogma 95 the most latest major film movement, or have there been more movements in the very recent?
Recent. The current film movement is, I think, Mumblecore.
Mumblecore is also dead only, no? Though isn't it like isn't it like kind of very dispersed now? Like, people watch Mumblecore?
Yeah, people love Frances Ha. So
Frances Ha.
Frances Ha's Mumblecore. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. I thought Mumblecore is more
running and talking.
No, I thought Mumblecore is more J. Duplass and Mark Duplass wala films, and like.
But wait, Mumblecore isn't restricted to countries, right? It is anyone can make, right? It's basically the indie
America,
film that
you know. It's more American film indie industry, though, I think.
That involve lots of dialogue, lots of talking, and less action. Like most Hong Kong films are Mumblecore films.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Well, I just think they are more cerebral though than Mumblecore. Like they have like a more sort of intellectual bent to them. Hong Sang-soo, that is.
And
but
they have to write dialogue.
No, I think it's I mean, I know people have categorized the new South Korean wave or whatever they call it, right? The forgot the entire term, but that's
New
also
South
clubbed as a
Korean wave.
movement only. With Bong Joon-ho, Park Chan-wook, and all this is considered a
Bong Joon-ho.
movement. I don't know how much of a movement it is.
If a movement is really considered, then I think it has to be in contact and Hong Sang-soo when they fully realized their power after the government changed, and they got that autonomy over directing. They got that freedom. After that, South Korean film industry changed. Then Park Chan-wook made joint security area. Bong Joon-ho came very later, like he achieved success.
No, agreed.
So
I think I think it's more to do with, I don't even know if it's a movement. I just read very briefly.
It's not a definitive movement. It was just...
But what about the new French movement that is happening? The extreme,
It was just about the government relaxing the power of creativity.
Okay.
No, Julia Ducournau's films and a couple of them. I think we discussed about it, but in brief.
The new extreme started before, but I think Julia Ducournau's kind of reviving it more than anything else.
Okay.
Extreme cinema was
we
there.
We will discuss about new extreme French extremity.
Go ahead, Simon. Pour out your love for Raw and Titan.
Even before that, I have two favorite French extreme films. It's Inside and Martyrs.
Yeah, Martyrs is the one I know people really love.
Martyrs is a film that if they tone down the violence a bit, it becomes very philosophical film. I feel that.
I mean, but they don't tone down the violence at all, right? Because it's like completely outrageously violent.
I was like, you can. It was sometimes at some point I felt it's needless to have this much violence. The film was basically torture someone. So much that he's neither dead nor alive. So he can see what's after death and what on this side. But they kind of failed to achieve that. Also, I don't watch the obsession of blood in new French extremity. They just very unapologetic filmmakers.
Pretty outrageous. But I know that her films come under French New Extreme, but like Julia Ducournau's film don't strike me as like extreme. Like
Raw was a full-fledged French extremity film. But Titan was more. It had more dynamics basically. French extreme films don't have that dynamic that Titan has. It becomes very monotonous at a point. Like Inside also, it's a very beautiful. I can say it's a very beautiful story about motherhood. Like one woman has lost a child and she wants to regain that. But again,
we will check what beautiful means in this context. But
you have to be very pretentious to claim Inside as a beautiful film.
But I think we've discussed a couple of film movements and known about them in like fairly enough detail, I think. So that people who want to start watching
slow
in a certain sense.
Just to mention, maze karo jaake watch Bellator
or Chai Ming Liang.
Tsai Ming-liang.
So now I think we can recommend a couple of films that we watched over the years, and people can watch them if they like. But 3 films, Simon, you go first. 3 films that you'd like to recommend from world cinema. Something that is easy for people who want to get into something. They can like start with these films.
Sure, told me this. I have made a list of absolutely opposites.
No, it's okay. Just something that I said. It's okay. You can have whatever you like.
Can I give some recommendations from countries we haven't talked?
Definitely. Go ahead.
There's this beautiful film from Georgia. It's called Repentance by Tengiz Abuladze.
Okay.
It's a film so drenched in Georgian culture. I can recommend more avant-garde stuff, but I won't. But the film is about a mayor's dead body who continuously returns to his son's garden. So it was found that the girl used to dig that body up because the mayor was responsible for his father's demise and his family's absence. And the mayor was designed in such a way that he was a mixture between a Georgian philosopher and Hitler. Like his facial attributes were like Hitler, but his body proportion and all were like the Georgian philosopher. So he was like very learned, very intellectual man, but very cruel also. So like the film becomes it starts off as a comedy film, like dark comedy. Then it becomes very, very symbolistic film. There are symbols filled in the film.
Okay.
So first is Repentance by Tengiz Abulafze.
Yeah.
Then if I have to recommend, recommendation is hard for this.
Harder to select 3 films out of like a
very much.
Yeah. We can fill in by the time you're thinking then. Sanjeet,
you guys go. I have to think.
Let's do one each time. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with. I think I've not recommended this before, but I'll go with Haneke's Cash.
Not Anubhav Sinha's.
Not. This is CACHE, not CSH. Cache, but it's a Haneke movie, so you know how it's going to be if you've seen a Haneke film. If you haven't, so the thing that I took away with a Haneke film is how dreadful his films are, even though there's not a lot happening, and the kind of violence exists in a Haneke film.
Yeah.
It is extremely disturbing and at the same time very entertaining for me, at least.
Yeah.
So I won't get into plot details and all of that because I don't think so it's necessary, but you can check out Cash. It's an Austrian/French film.
Yeah.
Film.
It's got Juliette Binoche, who's always incredible. Just to plug that.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Dhruv, you ahead.
No, just to mention, because I recommended, I would have recommended Cache also because I love it.
You recommended it to me, no? So
I know,
makes sense.
But still, but his films are so cold and distant and so scary. I've always described his films as horror films, honestly. Like I find them really chilling and like really, really
Also, he does something out of the box sometimes.
Sorry?
Like in Funny Game.
Yeah.
He does very out of the box thing. That remote sequence.
Yes. The remote.
Completely off guard.
Funny Game.
Mind blow moment for me also. I was like,
I was like,
Penny's video. It was the main, the two guys who came into that house in Funny Game.
One of them is in Benny's video, right?
Yes. That same actor kills a girl with so that
big shot, like
shotgun.
Yeah.
Shotgun. Haneke doesn't shy away from showing violent nature, and he claims he's very coward in real life.
But I think he shies away from showing violence in the most extreme cases, though. You remember the scene in Funny Games where the camera pans away, like in one scene, where and like a bullet goes off, and then you can just hear everything, and it's like
all the sound thing that is happening.
I was like, that's horrifying. Like the woman is screaming and everything, and I was like, God, this is
too disturbing.
And Cache has one scene of violence that literally had me like shocked.
I know what you're talking about. But
so again, not spoiling anything, but Cache has one moment of violence that is like if you're just into the film and you watch that scene, you're just like, what is this? Like it just happened. Moving from Haneke, who will come back in so many discussions. Like we have further discussions planned, which he'll be a part of. As in like as a discussion, not he himself. But so mine is not really accessible. I'm just going into the deep end by saying by recommending Jean Dieleman by Chantal Akerman, which is a 1973 film.
Chantal did I say it right?
Chantal Akerman. Jean Dieleman, which is 1973.
Read the full name. Read the full title.
I need to find it out again. It's an
Yeah.
address basically, right? The rest of the thing.
Oh,
Yeah. I will read it. Don't worry. Give me a second.
yeah.
Jean Delavan 23 Quadu Commerce 1080 Brussels. That's the whole title.
Wow.
It's a 3-hour 20-minute film. It's not an easy watch. I think it's not an easy watch initially.
It isn't.
But
Oh,
I
as if
think
the runtime never gave away.
but I think it's a extremely important film, and I think it's an extremely, if you're in its rhythm, I think you can feel the tension in sort of the smallest things happening. I think that's like, in many ways this is kind of slow cinema, right? But I think this is slow cinema done so precisely that everything in the frame matters, and like everything in that frame, whenever it changes shape, it kind of creates like a big ripple effect. And it's simply capturing a woman's life and how it kind of falls apart after one little thing goes wrong, and capturing that in a way which sort of preserves the mystery of what exactly causes that ripple effect to happen is the strength of the film. And there's a gazillion films inspired by it. Of course, they don't take this to the extreme and make 3-hour 20-minute films, but if you want to get the gist of what it means to employ the style, there's one film this year or last year that came, The Great Indian Kitchen, which employs it very much.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and a regional film from here. And then there's The Assistant from a year back by Kitty Green, which employs a similar style, I think. And there'll be others also. I think it's just a magnificently influential film, and I think something that really changed the way I look at cinema. And I think those are like the big things for me that sort of I got hypnotized by the 3 hours 20 minutes. I know everyone won't, but I would say that if you get into its wavelength, it's properly it changes how you look at the world and cinema. So yeah,
I'm convinced. Yeah. Simon, go ahead with the second recommendation.
Okay, now if I have to recommend this South Korean film I have watched after I think finding it for 3 years. It was Hong Sang-soo's Ha Ha Ha. It's just a three
What?
words.
Ha ha ha.
Yes, that's the title of the film.
Okay.
It's like one of the best South Korean films I've seen, because it's just two friends meet up one day and they discuss their life, how they spend their whole week, and gradually we realize that they have interacted with the same people unknowingly.
Wow.
This happens.
Wow.
Means the girlfriend of one character is the friend of another character, like this relationship. And they discuss history, they discuss about relations, and slowly the film ends in a very melancholic tone, I feel, where we realize that the world is getting so small that the we cannot develop enough emotions for someone. That sense of belonging is somewhere lost. This film, I think, should be watched by everyone. The title is very absurd. But
I'd never heard of it, and I've seen a little bit of Hong Sang-soo. So yeah.
Okay.
This film made me appreciate his film. After that, I became a fan. Hong Sang-soo nerd type.
I mean, Sanjeet, you should venture just because they're also super short.
Definitely, yeah. Don't worry about it. I will. I shall.
Your turn, sir.
Also, Hong Sang-soo makes 4 films. He once made 4 films in a year. He wakes up at 3 a.m.
At least three. Yeah.
This year also made 2. One was premiering in Berlin with Once Upon a Time and another in Cannes.
Yeah. It makes
next level. Next level. Okay. One thing that I'd like to recommend is Skin I Live In, which was my first amongst the first films that I started getting into world cinema. It's a Spanish film.
That'll be your introduction to Pedro Almodovar.
Pedro Almodovar as well. I mean, he was a big name. Hence, I got to know more about him, about the film very easily. It's a psychosexual drama. if I want to put it that way. Psychological thriller, horror, whatever you want to put it.
Melodrama, who knows?
Melodrama,
Yeah.
yeah. It is a
All of his
proper
films are
melodrama.
melodramas, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because first of all, you'll feel like a lot of similarities to how we are adept with melodrama as well. I feel because I think you will get like the kind of emotion that he goes for in a certain sense. We've experienced that in our films as well. Our films as Indian films mostly.
Yeah.
So I could really get into it, even though the plot goes into different places and it's a little. It goes into places that absurd, weird, in a sense, but the emotion that is there is very much something that we've experienced. So it won't feel very much alien to you when you get into watching it.
Is the film inspired by this George Franju film, Eyes Without
a Face? I mean, I've not seen it. It's based on a book, but wo thoda inspiration hai. He always takes that's a touchstone for Almodovar in general, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so Eyes Without a Face is similar in the sense that this guy, the doctor in The Skin I Live In, takes someone for surgical purposes, just to keep it all vague, which is also is in Skin I Live In, right?
Yeah.
Or captures this person to do the surgery stuff.
But
it's if you've not seen it, Simon, it's wild, that movie.
It is, yeah. But I mean, Skin 11, I absolutely love. I rewatched it very recently, and the thing is, with this rewatch, I got to know more details that I probably missed out in the first viewing. So I mean, that's a very good sign that a film holds up even after so many years. That's my second recommendation, Skin 11 by Pedro Almodovar.
My second one is, I mean, I'm not limiting this, but just Bergman stuff, please. Everything Bergman, mostly, because I love him. But like, I guess the popular ones are Persona, most popular, and Seven Seal. So
Wild Strawberries.
Yeah. All those. Go ahead, Simon. What are you saying?
There's a film it wasn't by Ingmar Bergman. He just shot last 30 minutes of it. It's called Torment. Have you seen it?
I have not.
It won the Grand Prix at Cannes, 1946.
Okay.
That infamous 11 wins in one season, in one ceremony.
That's the 1946 where they give it to the Indian Apna Neecha Nagar as well, right?
Neecha Nagar also.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
That film was also very mature. I got to learn about Bergman from that film.
Okay.
I thought that his films would be super serious stuff.
They are super serious stuff.
You won't be there to waste your time. Depression.
Proper. It's like, but I think what appeals to me about him is also, and I think this is a common complaint made against his films, and I think it's a valid complaint also, that his characters talk most of the stuff that otherwise other directors would keep as subtext. His characters talk about internal problems, strife, and like, what will God think of whatever, like whatever. Like all that stuff can be done in a subtler way. But I think his films are so atmospherically rich, like in just creating these worlds where people get the opportunity to talk about these sort of internal things that you can kind of feel. And I think feeling is like a consistent thing with his films. They feel like you're stepping into like stepping into glass. Like they literally feel like you're stepping into that. And that sort of pain of his films is radiant throughout. But I think
very much emotionally draining his films.
They are
After
emotionally
watching,
draining.
you feel very tired.
Yeah, definitely.
Persona was very tiring.
Yeah. Persona is still more sort of has a little bit of Godard stuff to it. Like it's still got like film reels and all that coming into play. There's his chamber dramas, which I really like, are like Autumn Sonata, which is the most like it breaks you into pieces. It's that sort of drama that I think has the energy. No one talks about these things, is basically my thing. And Bergman films go there and talk about them openly. And I think that's what kind of appeals most to me. And Sven Nykvist, like the cinematography,
the OG guy,
is like if anyone wants to like do a thing on close-ups and like how one can use human faces in films. It's like
Yeah,
Bergman's
it's
plastered all over.
Bergman's. Yeah.
It's his staple. So yeah, Ingmar Bergman, go for everything he's watched. He's great. But if you want to start somewhere, maybe I would think one of the Autumn Sonata ones, or like Autumn Sonata is probably a better place to start than Cries and Whispers, because Cries and Whispers is very theatrical, I think, a little bit. So
I thought Seven Seal would be a better
Seven
start.
Seal is very theology heavy, no? It's like, oh, what does it mean to like death is staring you in the face kind of.
Yeah.
Autumn Sonata is much more human.
Okay.
Like human drama, you know, basically. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Scenes from a Marriage is also fantastic. So yeah.
But
the new
everything
one
by
ka nahi
Bergman.
pata, huh? Nahi, purani wali is very good. New one I don't.
Okay, Simon, your last recommendation.
I am confused between two films. I would
go
only
ahead with both of them. It's
like,
okay. It's okay. Go ahead with both of them.
Thank you for the honor. Like the first film,
privilege.
The first film was I slept away inside 40 minutes. I think it is Lahane by Matthew Kassovitz.
Okay.
After waking up and again rewatching the film, it made so much impact. I was really moved by the whole film, especially when the three friends represent three sides of a human nature. One is aggressive, one is passive, and another one is diplomatic. So how these three are bonded with each other, and at the end, I won't spoil the ending, but the best place to start the contemporary French film scene.
I was about to say that it's also got big influence, right? In terms
what about Gaspar Noé's movie? You don't think so? That's a good place to start.
Gaspar Noé is very polarizing.
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, Lahane would be probably the best place, as I said, to start with contemporary French film. Then can I recommend British films also?
Yes. I am going to give one.
I am going to see a British film.
So it's a British film thing next.
Okay.
Last recommendation.
So the best way to know the British culture, like in depth, to watch Ken Loach films. His films are like, it's so raw. Like he's the Pasolini kind. He makes that stuff.
I mean, he's not extreme though, right? Like he's not like.
No, he's in the extreme. You won't expect some bizarre stuff from Ken Loach, but still that rawness is intact between those two directors. So the film is called Kes.
It's about to think
Kes.
Yeah, it's lovely.
The biggest inspiration for Udan. No, I haven't.
No, yeah. Okay.
But I know about it quite a lot.
Oh, it's biggest inspiration for Udan. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
400
blows and Kes.
Even I didn't. I think I know. I heard it somewhere. I read. I think the biggest inspiration for Udan.
Okay.
So it's just a film about a guy who everyone dislikes. His name is Casper. He's a very also he's very dislikable in the sense he's lazy and all. But then he friends with a kestrel, a bird. Then he trains the bird, and it becomes his only friend. Then how these two completely opposite things bond together and make the film such a memorable watch.
Yeah,
it's very moving. Also,
got a very heartbreaking
film, obviously, and it has subtle commentary over the class system, over the working class. How they are treated. Every kind of film has that. It represents another side.
He's supremely political that way. Actually, his films are like very working class oriented and like very much. His recent films are actually also very good. What's it? Daniel Blake and Sorry We Missed You. Yeah, both of them. I like, again, if you want to feel horrible about how the world is, it's a great. But then most of our recommendations have been like demonstrative of that.
But I mean, whatever.
Also another thing Ken Loach does very well is that wherever he shoots a film, like if he shoots a film in Yorkshire, he will take that specific accent. He will take the accent according to the place he's shooting. So that builds a completely new atmosphere.
Yeah, properly authentic
so
stuff.
One, right? I like this.
I needed subtitles for Kes because like I didn't understand what people were saying. Yeah.
I know.
At some places, it was very hard to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these three are my recommendation to get into world cinema. Repentance, Ha, then
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Three are my
And La Haine.
So, and La Haine, 4 you've given.
La Haine,
Yeah.
obviously, I
Yes,
forgot.
yeah.
La Haine.
Yeah.
Go Sanjeet,
Okay.
Nick Rogue.
No. So I'm
Oh.
going to move away from.
What the hell?
I mean, yeah, Don't Look Now is great. Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
we've discussed about. I just realized.
Have
I think
we?
we've spoken about
Maybe
it.
in the
Yeah.
horror film episode we did. Maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And even the other film that I was considering to recommend, I think I was already spoken about it in some of the episodes.
Okay.
Is Gosford Park.
Yeah, I think we have we've confessed love for Robert
Altman.
Mm.
Yeah. So Gosford Park is also.
Altman is a brilliant director.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
So the other film. Yeah, Three Women. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah.
I've not seen that. I've heard it's very experimental, right?
It's really good. Just watch it.
Yeah.
Just don't know any. Let's not talk about that film. Just start that film and watch it. So the film that I'll recommend is The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and a Lover.
Oh, okay.
Which is by
I have
Peter
this in my
Greenaway.
watch list.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a very different style than what you.
What's the director's name? Sorry, again, I forgot.
Peter Greenaway.
Peter Greenaway. Yeah.
Peter Greenaway.
Okay.
So he's known for his very theatrical. The film has a very theatrical, and it's shot in mostly wides and very flat imagery. Like it's like you're watching like a theater drama in a sense.
Yeah.
And he uses very expressionistic lights with red,
greens, right? A lot of greens.
And his
I saw a clip
production design is very erotic in a sense.
Yeah, I know. I saw a clip where he's juxtaposing something like a vegetable being cut to like an act of.
I know. Yeah. I mean, you get
happening in the background. Yes. Yeah.
But they're extremely melodramatic, but at the same time, they're so interesting to watch because there is so much of information that you can get. They shot like one tracking shots and like it's like sets that have been built. It has very artifice quality. But the thing is, his worlds are so, to me at least, they were so mesmerizing that I was drawn to the whole weirdness of it.
Yeah.
And there's a very brutal nature to his films. So in this film also, Michael Gambon is playing like a very abusive husband, quote unquote, and Helen Mirren is playing his wife. And then there's the whole, she's cheating on him and she's falling in love with the other guy. And it's a very conventional story, but the way it's done, I think, was the biggest sell for me in that sense. And Peter Greenaway in one of his interviews also said that that's his style and he's not going to move away from it. So most of his films have this very particular stylistic choice of being very theatrical, expressionistic in a sense. And cameras is more like a...
Always wanted to watch, overdue to watch his film. We only watched one clip in comparison to Mike Lee actually, whose films I'm not recommending here, but he is also awesome. So you can watch his films.
Mike Lee and Ken Loach.
Oh yeah, both of them like the British sort of.
So those are my recommendations. Skin 11 and this one. Yeah, go ahead with your third.
Yeah. So the last one I'll end it off with Powell and Pressburger's 1945 film actually. The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, which is it's a gorgeous film. Firstly, it's magnificently, Technicolor was a big thing for them, and like they made Black Narcissus and all that sort of similar sort of color and
red shoes and everything.
Red shoes, exactly. They are sort of one of the masters of how to use Technicolor in their films. And I think The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp has a big impact. Firstly, Martin Scorsese has talked a lot about it. And there's a particular clip he's taken inspiration from. I don't know which film he used it in, but it's I won't describe it, but there is a clip of him describing how a scene is staged by Powell and Pressburger in Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. And it's really extraordinary to see how you can film something like that in a movie and have like a big impact. But the film is mainly about this sort of, it takes place during the World War. So it's also kind of a very gutsy film for that time, actually, because it was released close to the point where World War II was happening. And it's about this war supposedly between this So it's a whole recounting of this kernel of a war that was taking place, and how a German friend of his they were supposed to be sort of they befriended each other in one place, and then later on, when the war was going on, this German person came to UK, but they kind of show that the German people, or like this German person, is a friend and not like an actual enemy, which at that time was
That's
very much
something new.
which was at that time a very radical thing, because it's like they're fighting the enemy and people expected propaganda to be flowing through there, and they're making this completely opposite film. But so looking back at it now, you can see it in that way, but I think one of the beautiful joys of that film is watching how this colonel looks at the friendship with this German guy as a completely nostalgic thing. And it's almost like, how Wes Anderson nowadays does that in Grand Budapest Hotel, where it's like you get the feeling that he's recounting a part of history that's completely fallen out. But like there was a lovely moment in time that kind of just fell out because the world had to move on. That's a sort of recurring theme through Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, and there's like that melancholia to like all of it, and it feels so lovely to watch something like that. And I think that is one of the other sort of early sort of films of world cinema that got me really into thinking about cinema outside the box also, right? Because it's like it's a charming film, but it's also sad and like funny and all that. So it's got a really great mix of everything. It's a longer film also. I don't know why I'm recommending long films today, but it's one of those long films that really like flies by, kind of like that, I think. So it's definitely Powell and Pressburger films. I've yet to watch The Red Shoes, which is supposed to be their crowning achievement. So but whatever other stuff I've seen from them is fantastic. Black Narcissus also.
Black Narcissus.
Yeah. That's the theme song of Black Narcissus. Yeah.
Are we pausing? We're pausing. Okay.
Boss, after talking about all this, I actually really want to watch like most of the stuff. Like when we talked about the birds ka thing, that's what I got into. I was like, birds dekhte hain baith ke. But
but then I think I hyped it up too much, because I have a connection, since I got really paranoid after watching that movie.
No, I understand.
I was like, birds is like too good.
Sorry.
No problem.
Chill.
Yeah. We'll include that. Don't worry.
Yeah, all of this is there. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're all done with the recommendations, and what?
Yeah.
It basically became a discussion for European cinema, basically.
Oh, we left I know.
Like Iranian, but I think
we didn't include
discussed
Russian cinema. Then we didn't include Japanese cinema.
Third part during the next month.
World Cinema 102.
102. Yeah.
Chapter 2.
Yeah. We should do that. Yeah, definitely. We think that we've concentrated our focus on lesser.
Basically.
Yeah. So next we'll definitely follow it up then.
I mean, this is more like a starting point for people to get into. And the idea was more to get people in like European the more popular ones. Yeah. And then also more obscure.
Asian films also we included some of them. Iranian films we've talked about before. So I think
in that Arijit episode
in previous episodes. So I think what we are lacking is like a little bit of African cinema, and like which is anyways less available to all of us in general. And then Latin America is the other one. Bakura, can people watch that if they want to?
Or the most famous Brazilian film,
City of God. Yes.
City of God.
So
I thought Cannibal Holocaust.
Let's not go there.
No,
okay.
I thought about that.
But that's a great idea, though. We should follow up. And we'll also talk about Tarkovsky then.
Please do.
Which would encourage me to go and finish Solaris.
Tarkovsky. No, but actually, you know what we can do is we can also watch each other's recommendations if we haven't. And by the next time we can come, we can also talk about our experiences with those films.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a very good experiment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can carry forward until we've covered everything.
Encouraged to watch also, right? Encouraged to watch ASAP. Not we always encourage to watch. It's just easy enough to start the film.
or busy. But anyway,
or sleep while watching it.
yeah. So I think this was a really, really good episode. We learned so much about film movements and stuff that we were unaware about from Simon. So thank you, Simon, for coming on for this episode. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's okay. It's always listening to different perspectives makes us happy, and we get to know so much more about films, which is obviously the objective of this podcast. So I hope people who are listening to it also end up watching these films so that we can all get together and watch together as a community and make it more interactive.
Let's open a cinema.
That is the biggest takeaway from this episode. If someone watches our recommendations.
Yeah.
That's the
Let's open a cinema, Sanjeet. Invite all Queen members.
Yeah, all the, including Harshvardhan Kapoor. And I hope more fans who listen regularly. But anyway, thank you so much for coming. This was a really good episode. Please follow us on Instagram at queensdead.film podcast. Support us as much as you can. You can follow Simon on his Instagram page called the Bong Cinephile, where he keeps posting some really good posts about films, film movements, and some more deeper insights if you like reading about them. You can also follow him on Letterboxd at the Bong Cinephile. Please follow us on Spotify and support us as much as you can, and appreciate all the support appreciate all the support we've gotten till now. Write a review if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us reaching out to more people. You can follow Dhruv at Terminal Cinema. You can follow me at Pixel Baba. So yeah, thank you so much. Khatam.